Hello, everyone. Today is a bit different. I'll explain why in a bit. But for now, I guess we could lead up to the differenceness, or the differentness, however you say it. So, this morning, I was once again woken up by my mom to move my car out of the way so she could go to church. And so, our family friend actually got in their car and drove off to church, which allowed me to park in the area that our family friend was in so I could get out of the way of my mom so she could go off to church. When they left, I decided to go into the house, and there I started to make some coffee, and my sister was up. I greeted my sister. Um, And then, once the coffee was good to go, um, I found out that there was actually some cookies made, which I wasn't expecting, but was very, very happy about. It was from the batter that I made yesterday. I say my mom probably baked those, so very happy about that, and they were very good. Um, and then I told my sister about this new lawsuit happening with Alphabet and Meta by like the Supreme Court, where they ruled that the technology that both Meta and Google, who is owned by Alphabet, are supporting, are inherently designed to be addictive. And the problem with this is that this could have long-lasting damage on children specifically who don't know the dangers of addiction and technology, and a lot of families came out and decided to file like lawsuits against these companies. And so it and apparently the court ruled in favor of the people who were against the addictive nature of this technology, which is pretty great. It is really awesome to see when the little guy stands up to the big guy and wins. Now, the question is, how much in legal damages does Alphabet and Meta have to pay, or if any at all, and how much could they sustain from that impact? They are some of the richest companies in the world. I'm sure they could probably take the hit, but yeah, that should be interesting. And after we watched that, I decided to watch a video where a guy was talking about like he made a tier list of the wisest things versus the most unwisest things you can do with your money in your 20s. And he had a lot of really good insight, lots of good like knowledge that I really did approve of. Um, some of the more standout bits were never co-sign for any property, because even if the person you're co-signing with is someone who's your best friend or someone you trust or someone who may be financially responsible, the problem is that you're always going to have to rely on like the other person doing their part on top of your part, which destroys any kind of independence you would have with the property that you would have owned had you just been a single signer. And the thing is that, as much as you'd want to believe that like the person who co-signed it with you is all in it to be, team player, life happens, things could change that. And ultimately, that uncertainty could lead to some nasty legal consequences in the future that would ultimately bankrupt both parties or maybe one party, which is why it's best to avoid co-signing entirely. I thought that was pretty good insight. Another good insight that I thought was cool was like begin investing in a retirement account early, because of the compound interest. It will ultimately mean that when you eventually do retire and enjoy your golden years, you will have enough money to live comfortably off of for the rest of your life. So, yeah, invest in like a 401k or something similar to ensure that that is a possibility for you. So that was good advice too. And of course, he said never spend on things that ultimately are just flash in the pan and ultimately just going to depreciate in value immediately after getting them, like new cars or um, constantly going on trips. I mean, if you have the cash for it and because you have like a successful business or make a lot of money already, then go for it for trips. But if you don't and you're just trying to, make cash, then be extremely frugal and only like go on trips once like a year at most, and make sure that you've financially planned out for everything and paid for everything up front, so you don't have to worry about being in debt. And then that was one more thing that I wanted to mention before moving on from this topic, and that was he mentioned never decide to uh, you know pay, like go into a payment plan where you decide to pay a bit on something over the course of like a year. So say like there's a product that you were really into, but like they had like a plan from a firm where like if you put in like $100 a month on the product, like which would end up being $1,000, it would take you about 10 months to eventually pay off the product. And the problem is like with products that are like that, as time goes on, those products eventually depreciate in value, which means that by the time that you reach that 10-month mark and you finally fully own the product that you bought, it may as well be like being sold on the secondhand market, used for a much reduced price than what you initially invested into it, meaning that you ended up paying more for something you could have paid a lot less on. Now that doesn't mean there's certain products that would probably be better to get new. Like I'd rather get new earphones versus used earphones, personally, because I don't like the idea of someone else's ear grease being on like a pair of headphones. Um, but for you know things that could easily be cleaned or are something that's like open boxed and so its value decreases immediately, or that may seem hot and fresh right now, but ultimately is not going to be seen as hot and fresh in the near term future. You can just wait. You don't need to dump money into that stuff continuously over an extended period of time. It's just silly. I mean, if you really want something, then I guess, but ultimately, you know, it's always smarter just to wait until a lower price comes. Apparently, some people actually do that with their groceries, which sounds insane to me. I don't understand why anyone would do that. But anyways, moving on from that, my sister caught one of our cats, the our orange cat Malcolm. We hugged him and we petted him because he was super cute. Um, and I decided to brew a cup of coffee, go into the den, and have him and pet him while I was watching a video about um, the best thing you can do when you're in your early 20s by a guy on YouTube. And ultimately, just basically comes down to don't frivolously spend, live as frugally as humanly possible, um, eat meals at home, save a decent portion of your check per pay period, and then eventually, reinvest that in high value assets that will pay you big time as time goes on. So that's pretty much what he had to say. Sound advice, I suppose. There was like another video I was watching, like said like you will be financially free 20 minutes after this video. So I watched. It was basically like this guy from this podcast called Diary of the CEO talking about like how important it is to like invest in property because the property will eventually go up in value. And so like you could buy a house that like originally was 350 and then you could renovate it and make it like nice and then resell it like 2 or 3 years later for like 850K dollars, so and so you make your money back that you spent on the house, and then you end up coming out with a lot more money in the end. Of course, that heavily depends on how much you spent to renovate it, I suppose. So maybe if you spend like $100K to renovate it, then you're still making a decent profit. It's the same deal as like, scalpers. They buy a product and then they resell it to huge fans for like 3 times the price because they know like the fans are like going to want to get it, even though like, it's a scummy practice. But hey, scalpers wouldn't exist if fans wouldn't pay up. So, yeah, there you go. Well, moving along, after watching that, I decided I would go in my room and develop this journal right here. I know, like, I think I brought this up quite a while ago. I tried starting this journal back in January 19th of last year. And, well, let's just say I didn't really do a whole lot of progress on it. I tried, I attempted to like do things like become a professional draftsman, become a professional video editor, have a 13-week base plan. But I ended up making plans that were so detailed, but ultimately extremely intimidating, that it ultimately just made me feel way too uncomfortable to really pursue it, because felt like I was really shoving too much information or stuff in my face to really get anything done. So yeah, that's a real shame. So I decided to revisit this journal, since I paid like $30 for it back in the day, and apparently the journals recommended me on Amazon, and now it's like $35. So I was like, well, if it's still like the same value, maybe I was like not using it correctly. So I decided to start out with the habits, and those habits were: keep phone out of room after 12 a.m. It's about to be 12 a.m. in 1 minute, so yeah, I'm gonna go a little overboard on that one. Be in bed by 1 a.m. Zero screen time by 1 a.m. So no TV, no nothing, no computer. Zero screen. Write down your number one tasks the within the 30 minutes of waking. Work on Brain Jam for 30 minutes, which is the YouTube channel that I've been working at, but have kind of neglected all month, if I'm being honest with you, with the exception of that one video a few videos ago. Glass of water first thing in the morning. Check off habits before your work shift. Write one sentence about how it went. And that's so scrunched, it's hard to read. And then record and upload a vlog before 12 a.m. And it's currently 12 a.m. exactly right now. So kind of failing on that right now. But hey, as long as I finish recording this and uploading, it should be fine. Then I did my my calendar for this month from March 30th to April 4th. My work week is written down here, so yeah, that's doing pretty good. Then I did my weekly planning, which was basically just focus on building your 9 habits, and your main task is to do 30 minutes of Brain Jam before 2 p.m. for the hour before you leave for work. Usually having like a deadline does help encourage me. And then the last thing I did was my daily planner, which was your goal: build my habits, which is what I'm planning on, and then my target for the day: 30 minutes of Brain Jam before 2 a.m. And so that's pretty much it. So this time I tried to keep things super simple and meet me where I'm at currently, instead of trying to meet an idealized fantasy version of me where I have everything put together. Right now I'm just kind of going through the motions and doing the same thing day in and day out. And while yes, it is comforting and easy, ultimately I do feel like I'm like meant for a lot more than that. And I feel like that constantly just doing the same thing day in, day out is holding me back from really achieving my true potential. So yeah, I'm hoping that this way of taking my duties more seriously will encourage me to really push myself forward. And it's just simple things, nothing crazy. Like a few sentences written down, technology off after 12, be in bed by 1, keep phone out of room, don't be on phone for first like 30 minutes of the day. Sounds doable. I just need to prove to myself that I'm able to do it. Well, we'll find out soon, won't we? Okay, well, after working on that, my mom came home. I said hello. She made a egg sandwich with hash browns in it, and ketchup and mayonnaise for me. I was really enjoyed that. It was great for her. I ate that with a cup of coffee. Me and my sister were talking about time management and how I could get better, and she like got two, squares, yellow square pin notes, and asked me to try marking them like green completely. And like when I did the first time, like it took me like a minute 40 seconds, and then when I did the second time, it took me about like a minute 10 seconds. So I was able to shave off 30 seconds from my like previous time. And it was basically like an experiment to prove that when like I know like I have a limit, and when I know I need to get things done faster, I'm more likely to do it quicker than if I didn't know. So that was a good encouragement, I think. Well, anywho, um, after eating that, it was then time to get ready and go. So I got dressed. I wet and combed my hair. I said goodbye to my sister and my mom. I told them that I love them. Um, I went into my car. I played the song "The Proclaimer," the "I'm on My Way" by the Proclaimers, and I drove off to work. At work, it was a pretty fine day, I would say. Not much to really complain about at all. And there was 4 hour. The whole day was sweeps, like every day would appear from here on out, unless something were to change, but that might not happen. I think I might have be like a new mainstay closing janitor. That's probably like the position that I'm given now. But anyways, yeah. So just sweeps produce, break room, store floor. Helped customers find what they needed. I helped a guy find some Firestone pizza bread, so he could like make that with his family. So that was pretty cool. And I ended up going on my first break, where I went to a nearby restaurant to refill my water canteen. And as I was doing that, I was practicing some basic breathing exercises with the Breath with Sandy channel. It was very nice. I really appreciated it. And then I eventually went back to my duties for the next 2 hours, or an hour and 50 minutes. We're being technical about it. And I punched out for my lunch. I immediately went upstairs, and when I opened my sandwich bag, if you remember yesterday, I thought, I'll prepare by putting some mustard and mayonnaise packets in the break room. Turns out there was mustard and mayonnaise packets that were already in the sandwich bag that I didn't account for. So, oopsies on my part, I suppose. That's pretty funny, though. But anywho, yeah, pretty funny. Well, then after that, I eventually decided that I would I put the sandwich together. I put out the chips. I put out the A&W Zero Sugar, and I was eating that. I was watching like a video of like a guy who's trying to be really motivating and talk about like how you need to overcome your technology addiction and really like lock in and like craft the life you want for yourself, and so instead of being stuck in like your own self-made cage. So I thought that was pretty good advice, really motivating, because I'm trying to do that with like reassessing how I spend my time and like using that you know improvement journal as like a way of like trying to work on that. So yeah, pretty cool. Well, then I went back downstairs. I punched back in. I took out the trash. I brought in extra bags. It was a busy night. There was constant customer action again and again and again. Um, so I had to divvy up my attention, back with for the customers, while restocking the bags. Eventually, I did go to what happened after that? Oh yeah, I did refill cleaners, paper towels, spread the paper towels on each check stand, and I wiped down all the check stands. Uh, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh yeah, and then I had to make one final sweep in the back because there was a lot of onions on the floor. My manager let me know, so I was like, "Oh, I gotta do that." My co-manager. So yeah, cleared the floor. It was nice and good to go. After that, I said goodbye to my co-manager, and yeah, I was telling them like I'm gonna really focus on being better with like managing my time, know when I'm gonna do my sweeps and when I'm gonna like get things done in a way that will be you know effective. So it's like, all right, baby steps, just keep working on it. So yeah, pretty cool. After that, I said goodbye, get home safe. He said the same thing to me. Um, well, he said get home safe, and then I said you too. And then I drove back home, where when I got back, I was like, ooh, I want to record my update video immediately so I don't have to think about it for later. Then I realized, wait a minute, there's something I need to do first. Oh my gosh, I need to set my alarm for 6 a.m. so I'll be up nice and ready tomorrow. So I set my alarm for that. It took a while to do though, like too long, but I did eventually set it up. For whatever reason though, the two dots that normally blink in and out to let me know that the timer's like the clock is on are no longer doing that. Instead, they're just still. I'm not sure if that's like a glitch because like I've had this um, alarm clock with me for so long that maybe it's starting to glitch out now. I think I've had it for like 2 years. Um, but in any case, yeah, it just looks frozen, but the only way I know it's still active is that I see the time go by. Like right now it's like 12:10. Like, oh, now it just turned 12:11. Okay, it's still going. It's still live. It's like that beep was like the heart pulse. Now that's not there, I'm like, is it even on? I don't know. All right, well, anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to finish recording, then I'm gonna upload this bad boy. So that'll, the hardest thing is out of the way. And then I will take my vitamins, brush my teeth, put this phone in another room so I'm not tempted to do any endless doom scrolling late into the night. And then I'll be in bed by 1. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to go get ready for bed now. So take care, have a good one, and good night. Sayonara.